This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com. And today I have multiple time world arm wrestling champion, former special forces officer in the Canadian military, who may or may not have actually killed some people. He's not allowed to actually answer that question. Devon Larratt, the two Devons that are best known from Ottawa. How are you today, sir?
That's a great intro, man. That's it. Everything's going great here. Good times. Just staying sane in these insane times. Busy getting massive.
Yeah, what are you weighing in at these days? Last time I met you in person, you were doing a fast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, last time it was at like the end of the season, or I just got done a big match and I knew I had some downtime. So you caught me last time on my like day 2 or day 3 of me just drinking water. But no, right now I'm sitting like really comfortable, waking up around 260. So that's really big for me. Like, I mean, it's probably the biggest kind of maintaining weight that I've sat at. I am ready to blossom into full form for my next competition. But 260, 265 at night.
Last time we were having our chat, you were saying you were doing some special training to potentially arm wrestle Dennis again. Did you ever have that match, that rematch, and are you still training towards that?
Dennis is the dude. I shouldn't say he's a dude, because actually right now I think Levon Saginashvili is probably the dude. But I'm like there's a few guys now that I either have to beat or I owe one to. Dennis is one of those guys who I owe one to. Dennis' left hand is not on my radar, okay? To me, Dennis' left hand is this guy who wow. Okay. Right hand. Yeah, man. Right hand. I think it'll be a different story. Right hand. My right is better than my left. His left is better than his right. So, I'm totally game to do it right hand. I'm doing this crazy thing right now. I call it Way of the Giant Pumpkin, and I'm only training my right hand. Yeah, I'd be really, really keen on a Dennis match. Anybody who could make a Dennis Saplenkov right-handed match happen, I would be extremely grateful to.
Somebody might see that, because the last time that you talked about Dennis Saplenkov, now that you've said the last name, I'll attempt to pronounce it. That had like 1 million hits on this channel, and I was shocked. I'm blown away at the following arm wrestling has.
Yeah, man. Arm wrestling's great. Anybody can do it. It's the way I see arm wrestling in like where does it fit in the world of sports is we are kind of a bridge between the strength world and the fight world. Like in terms of the fight worlds, we are the softest of the fight sports. Like we're not as bad as boxing or UFC or anything. We don't get head trauma. We don't get spinal. We can walk when we're 70. But it is a fight. The same feelings you have in a fight, you have when you arm wrestle, and you got to be real strong to do it well. So, yeah.
And last time I talked to you, we had to cut the part out about Scott Norton because it was up for about a day and we got in trouble from Scott. But maybe I'll bring his name up again and we won't throw up any challenges this time.
No.
Because we don't want him mad at us.
And it was just a misunderstanding. Scott Norton is a legend in the arm wrestling world. I don't even remember what I said. I probably talked a little bit of shit about him, but it was in good fun on my part. Honest truth is I have Scott Norton way up here. I mean, he won the real side of the Over the Top tournament. He's one of the greatest guys who's ever been in our sport. But I talked to, after that, I kind of talked to him a bit because I found that he was upset about it. I didn't want that to be the case. So, I heard last I talked to him is he was thinking about kind of coming back into arm wrestling a little bit. So, he's down in Texas, so if I ever get down there, I'm for sure going to train with him.
I've done probably 300 interviews now, and that's the most upset anyone's ever been at me for posting an interview clip. And it happened within, what, 2 hours of us posting that?
He was pissed, man. He was pissed. Like I felt really bad. I'm like, geez, I don't even. What did I even say? Did I say something bad?
You were just theoretically challenging him to a match.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And
Well.
like he thought we should have asked for permission before we did that, but it was done in a joking manner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we thought he would have understood the humorous side, but I guess not. And he was, of course, in the movie Over the Top as well. I recently have been in contact with another wrestler that was in Over the Top. His name is Magic Schwartz. He's the blonde guy that Sylvester Stallone arm wrestled at the truck stop. Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's try this again. Dude, if you ever want to get cracked wide open, just step up and I'll bend that wrist back the same way Sylvester did it in the movie. I'll crack it right back. Uh-oh, you better, now you're going to have to take this interview down too.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to send that to him, and maybe
that's one of my favorite parts.
Because I had to talk to him for like an hour. I don't know about you, but I thought it was over, but he kept going back into it.
That's like my favorite part of the movie. What was that? He's like, who are you? And he's like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm Crusher. And then it's like, oh, I guess we're going to arm wrestle now. That's kind of how it goes in real life, you know. That's real life arm wrestling culture.
The last time I was in an arm wrestling match, I actually started an entire bar fight out of it.
No kidding.
Yes.
Man, where was your phone on that night?
It's probably better that it wasn't around.
Man, that's some viral stuff. That could have put your channel right up there in like the 10 million place that you want to be. Yeah.
That was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. And yeah.
You know, Dev, if you wanted to do like some kind of a collab here in Ottawa, we could do this thing where you and me kind of meet at a bar and we start arm wrestling and we intentionally try and start bar fights.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
It'd be a ton of fun. It would be hilarious stuff. Like, you know, as long as, you know, nobody really got hurt, but
well, you and I wouldn't get hurt. I'm pretty sure with your special forces training, you could protect both of us.
It would be some funny stuff, though. It would be some funny stuff for sure.
There's a fan on here asking how good was Rick Rude back in the day in arm wrestling. Did you ever hear any stories about if he was legit?
Yeah, I heard he was legit. I heard he was pretty good, actually. I remember his name came up a few times. And all the guys who were kind of that era were always like, yeah, he's really good. He's really strong. He's really quite a legit arm wrestler. I never actually met Rick Rude, but yeah, word on the street is he was a legit awesome arm wrestler.
Supposedly, he passed away from a failed penile enlargement surgery that led him to killing himself.
You're making that up.
No, I am not. I wish I was, but
you are. Okay, say that again because I got so excited.
That might not be the like enough wrestlers have said it, and there hasn't been like any official denial of it. That I guess he had some type of enlargement surgery that didn't go well, and a good amount had to be taken off.
Oh,
so I guess that really depressed him, and he ended up overdosing.
Oh my God, you are kidding me.
I wish I was. I really wish I was.
That's an amazing story. Oh my God. Oh, when I die, I want that to be the reason why.
Yeah, well, I think you already passed him in age.
Really? Oh, wow.
He was 40. He was only 40.
Man, died of a botched penile surgery. Wow. What a way to go.
The depression caused by it, because you have to imagine without
that is not what you signed up for. Like that was not in the plan.
I think it started, according to Honky Tonk Man, there's something that the porn stars use. It's like injectable Viagra that you can inject right into the dick, and then that screwed up, and that led to a surgery that didn't work out either. So it's sad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, he'd fit right in the arm wrestling world then, yeah.
Speaking of the arm wrestling world, someone was saying, one of the fans that watch it, they said that it seems like the arm wrestlers are bigger than ever these days. Do you think they're ever going to put in a more strict drug testing policy?
We are always now. When I got into the sport, by about 2005 or so, maybe before that, I'd say I started asking a lot of questions to a lot of different promotions. It was always, hey guys, are we ever going to start testing? Are we ever going to start testing? And the answer has always been, we're a year away from testing. We're like a year or two away from testing. This has kind of been the standard answer. Now, I'll tell you, there is testing in arm wrestling. So if you pull at like WAF or I don't think IFA tests yet. They might actually, IFA might test as well. So the amateur side of the house, they do test. So, and those guys, I mean, if you're living in the right country, that is the way to go, man. Like if you are in like Azerbaijan or Kazakhstan or something where your government is giving you funding to bring home a gold medal and you're pulling tested events, what a great deal. And in the pro events, yeah, we've never to my knowledge, has there been a pro league that tests. So that's PAL, WAL, does UAL never tested. And they've always said like a year out. Now, I really do think that we're closer now than ever to being tested. And I think that testing kind of hinges on the sport's real legitimate boom, which, you know, arm wrestling is doing better than I've ever seen it in my time in the sport. Like we've got more viewership, more ticket sales. Which in turn opens up the door for the big push, which is betting. And once betting comes in, you have like governing bodies, which will demand testing. So, hey, if that happens, I think it's a big win for the athletes. I think, especially the young guys. And I think as a culture, we should really be happy if that happens, if it's done properly. You know, if it's done bad, then I mean, it's just not going to work. But right now, it's the era of arm wrestling freaking monsters. Like, it's great. Like, it is so hard to compete, just in terms of strength now. Like, because there's money in the sport, guys are loving it more than ever, and yeah, man, people are diesel strong these days.
There's a fan on here wondering if Bull Hurley was a real arm wrestler from the Over the Top film.
Yeah, he really was. I feel terrible because I don't know his name off the top of my head right now, but he was a legit arm wrestler. From what I understand, he was pretty good too. He was California state champion. Okay, so he wasn't like a world champ, but I think he won a couple state titles. Actually, Zumwalt. I think his name was Zumwalt. Is it Rick Zumwalt? I think his name was. Yeah, he was a real arm wrestler. Yeah, good puller, and looked super badass, right?
You have a fan here that tipped $10. He says he loves both of our channels, and he asked if you ever had a match where the person was so pissed you beat him that he tried to scrap with you. Such as the incident I was just talking about that happened with me.
I can't remember anybody wanting to fight me after a match. I can't remember. It doesn't. I don't think that happened. No. I'm pretty easy to get along with most times, believe it or not.
Well, yeah, you seem, other than when you're in the arm wrestling arena, you seem like a totally different person, and your wife only adds to that. You could have actually been a good wrestler with your wife managing you with that gimmick?
Yeah, well, she's way crazier than I am. So, like, I feel like when I go to a match, if it's just me, I'm like one level. But if Jody's there with me, it's like, yeah, she makes things difficult for people.
Have you ever considered wrestling, or at this point you're retired from your regular job and your real passion is arm wrestling? So even though you could have maybe made it as a wrestler, it's just not something you're interested in.
Hey, like I think it's so cool. I love to watch it, but I'm so broken now. Like, honest truth, like um, when I was a young man, my body really worked great. I think I could do a lot of things, but I mean, I'm 45 now, and like I am so specialized in my training. Like, I basically arm wrestle, and like that's it. Everything else, I'm at like lower than maintenance mode. So, and I love arm wrestling. I feel like it's a sport that I've really kind of become attached to. So to take on a different sport now, like, would probably be something that didn't include a lot of physicality. So maybe I'll get like into like pool or like chess or something, or video games. But physically, I've just about burnt this sucker out. I still got a lot of miles on the arm wrestling table, but for me to cross over into stuff, I think would be challenging. Maybe I could do like long distance walking.
So that answers another fan question I had for you, who was asking, he's seen some videos of you doing jujitsu. Is
Oh
that
yeah.
something you're going to pursue?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I do love jujitsu. I do love scrapping. Like, I really do. So I feel like jujitsu is easier on the body than wrestling. Wrestling to me, it just seems so high impact. Like, and jujitsu to me, when I think about jujitsu, even though it's like super hard physically, I feel like it's not as high impact. Like, you can kind of smooth into stuff. I'm a huge fan of jujitsu. I grew up doing judo, so I would love to dust that off the shelf a little bit and do a little bit more of it. I'm always game to do that kind of thing. It's the hard hitting, it's the heavy, fast stuff that I think that at this point in my career is gonna do me more damage than it does good.
Someone says you'd be great at darts.
Ha! Yeah, except for this, right? Again, boom. That's, you know, yeah.
Darts could use somebody with your personality.
Hey, it's 180. The guys who do the MC on darts, those are the real winners.
I've never watched it long enough to hear the MCs.
Oh, you gotta type in. I'm sure there's some kind of a compilation. Type in darts 180, and I bet you, and I haven't even done this yet, but I bet you there's probably some compilation of like some dude screaming 180, and everybody loses their mind. It's awesome.
Now, someone's asking if you like Ryan Bowen's singing. Ryan Blue Bowens.
I like everything that Blue does. He's a 44% better man today than he was even 2 weeks ago. He's on this exponential like growth curve that basically by the time Zalati rolls around, that guy is shoulder pressing the entire field. He's the man.
Another fan is asking if you're ever going to market some contraptions you train with at your home.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that maybe. I really like to encourage people to make their own stuff. Like, it's all about time. Like, what do I want to do right now? I want to arm wrestle a lot. I want to train for arm wrestling, and I want to build a community with this arm bet project that we're pushing. Equipment, yeah, I'd love to help market good equipment. It's just we've had some hiccups in the past just due to contracts and stuff like that. But Yeah, as our reach continues to grow, for sure, I want to do some partnerships with some people who make really, really good cutting edge arm wrestling equipment, because the stuff that's out there right now, there's really good stuff, but um, there is stuff that is not out there that we could make that would take training to another level. I'm a big believer that the best thing about arm wrestling is the community and just kind of getting together with people and training on tables or whatever. So the gym is like work a little bit like work.
Do you recommend, like in the over the top film, someone to like have a stack of weights in their car and just do this continuously every time they drive
Oh
somewhere?
yeah, man, for sure. I used to call it Toyota size. Like in my Toyota, I had like bands all over the place. Um, I think that no matter what you do, like however your life, whatever your life asks from you, the more you can kind of fit your like real passion into it, that's going to mean that you're going to be able to get there one day. Like that's going to make you succeed. So whatever your job is, wherever your time takes you, if you can be making those energy investments into what you really want to do. So, for example, arm wrestling. If you're in your car all day, yeah, have a workout place in your car. If you're at work, find a pull-up bar or something where you can just make those investments throughout the day. Hey, I'm lucky. My house, I don't leave it too much. My gym's right there.
You got a lot of guitars there. Are those yours or someone else in your family's?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of the honky tonk man. And the way I see it, at some point, somebody's going to come over and they're going to piss me off. And I'm ready to go to war right now. Like, I don't play these guitars, but I am totally ready to smash them on anybody. So I'm fully loaded. Yeah.
If I ever interview him again, I'll definitely have to get him to give you a shout out.
That's funny, actually. We have raccoons in our backyard. They come by and mess with the garbage sometimes. And the other day, I heard one, and I took that. Actually, it was that blue one. I took that blue guitar off, and I was like, bong, bong, hitting the raccoons with the guitar. And I was like, this one's for the honky tonk man. And yeah, it was great. It was great. I felt like a superstar.
I'm surprised you don't have any firearms in your house. That would probably work better to get rid of them.
Yeah, but there's a lot of neighbors, you know. Yeah.
Someone is asking if you're taking Schoolboy or Larry Wheels in their match.
It's a hot match, man. I'll tell you, when I first, when I first so I know them both through the internet. And then I met Schoolboy in person in March. And like, I already knew he was really good. And when I pulled him, I'm like, okay, he's like, Schoolboy's legit awesome. Like, Schoolboy, like, if there was a match between Schoolboy and RVJ right now, I don't know who I'd pick. That's kind of the way I see it. Like, Schoolboy might beat RVJ today. And that's not a knock against RVJ, because RVJ is legit the best sub 200-pound guy in North America, I think, without question. But Schoolboy's big. Schoolboy is like my height, so he's like 6'5". He's like 19. I don't even think he hardly even shaves, and he is nasty. Like he's perfect, and his trajectory is so steep. Like he's just getting started. He's 19. So initially, I'm like, and I saw how Larry was pulling, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna get destroyed. And then I watched Larry doing his training and stuff, and I'm a huge fan of Larry. I think that, I just think he's the walking PR, and he's just had so much success. And I saw him with his training, and I wanted to support him in any way I could. So luckily, I got to have a week with him, and I was so impressed with kind of all things Larry Wheels. Like, so he was way stronger than I thought he was going to be on the arm wrestling table, obviously. His technique was good. He wasn't conditioned for it. So what I mean by that is Larry does everything. I mean, he's bodybuilding, he's lifting weights in the gym like a man, he's curl record, he's you name it, Larry's doing it. So so he's not, and when I was there, it was like, I'm like, do you train your wrist? And he said he'd had one wrist work before, one, and he's ridiculous strong. So with Larry, it's kind of a question of focus. It's kind of a question of how bad does he want it? How much is he putting into it? How many millions of opportunities does Larry Wheels have in his life that he's going to kind of pick Schoolboy to focus on? Larry's ability to get strong and understand things really quickly is going to be hard to deal with. So I used to have Schoolboy, and now I still have to lean towards Schoolboy. But let me tell you, man, you give Larry a really good amount of motivation. You make Larry like really decide, like when Larry stops posting shoulder press videos, when he stops, posting stuff where he's doing squat or anything, when you just see Larry posting wrist workouts for like a couple months, ooh, man. And there's a dude, Awa, he's training with, who's a freak. So probably one of the most talented dudes I've ever met in my life off the street is like Larry's training partner now. So Larry's got everything he needs to do it. So it's a big match, man. I'm like totally up in the air about who can get it done.
And here's an interesting question. I did not know you arm wrestled Shaq, but this person is asking, is Shaq the strongest non-arm wrestling athlete you have matched up with, or have you encountered someone that surpassed him? I know you beat the Mountain a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of like, so I used to say that the strongest people, like the strongest group of people that were non-arm wrestlers were models. Okay, I just found that every single guy who said he was a model that I ever gripped up with felt like really, really strong. But in like actual people that I've met, I would say, I've arm wrestled a lot of people, and a lot of people have like, experience in arm wrestling. They've trained for arm wrestling, and I'm just going to discount all of those guys because a lot of those guys are obviously, there's a lot of guys you don't hear about, but like in their region, they're practicing arm wrestling and they're freaking monsters and nobody really knows about them. But I'm just going to push all those guys aside. And I'll say three people that basically have no arm wrestling experience. There was this dude down in Australia. I did a seminar down there. I think it was in the Brisbane club. Brisbane's one of the best. Well, I'd say it's probably the strongest club in Australia. There's the best guy is, I think, from Perth. The biggest club, I think, is from Melbourne, but Brisbane is probably your deepest club. And in that club, there was this dude, and I'm terrible. Names escapes me right now, but it's this big island kind of guy, like he's like from Toga or something, and he was like, again, he's like my height, but his bones were like 3 times as thick, and his hand was just enormous. And I'm arm wrestling him, and he's like, you try and pin me, and I'm like, okay. And this guy had like 2 or 3 practices under his belt. So not his first time, but like barely just got into arm wrestling. And it took me like 45 seconds to pin this guy. And he was just holding me. And he didn't know anything about arm wrestling. So that guy, the next guy would be this Awa dude who we just met in Dubai. The guy did not lift weights. He had never really done an arm wrestling practice. I think he'd attended a tournament once with his friends, and I think he'd arm wrestled with his friends a bit, but he'd never even been on a practice table. And as soon as I shook his hand, I was like, "Oh my God, you're going to be ridiculous." And he was. And then Shaq. Shaq is probably the most gifted dude that I've arm wrestled. I'm going to put one asterisk on this. I shook a guy's hand, and without even arm wrestling him, I know that this guy probably, I'm going to say that this dude, if he got into arm wrestling, even at the age that he is, I'm thinking this guy could be a world champion, like best in the whole world. And I think he's like 50 and he's never arm wrestled. Is Mark Felix. I don't know if you know who Mark Felix is, but this
Probably a
dude's
lot of people on here do.
yeah. You know Mark Felix?
I don't have a clue who he is, but some people on here do.
He's this dude out of the UK. I think he does like strongman grip stuff. His hands are like paddles and they're thick. And I'm telling, like, I didn't even arm wrestle. I just shook his hand. I'm like, dude, like, what the hell? Like, the most muscular, thick, developed hands. Like, yeah, I could tell. But yeah, Shaq, man. Shaq's the strongest dude I've pulled who's a non-arm wrestler.
We've had a bunch of people ask if you have any word on if Voivoda is going to return and the status of Travis Badgent.
So Alexi, I think mostly has kind of, has kind of transcended the sport. I think he's mostly a politician now, but I mean, he's still ridiculously fit. You see him train. He's still involved in the sport. I'm sure he'll be back at some point. How much time and energy is he devoting to the sport? I think very minimal, but I do believe we will see him again. I would really like to arm wrestle him, so I'll do my best to kind of pull him back at some point. But yeah, he hasn't been really active on that level. Travis, I think that I see Travis starting to get active again now with his podcasts and stuff. Travis has mostly been a bit quiet since about 2016, but he's been working, his side hustle where he is arm wrestling people. Does Travis want to get back into high-level competitive arm wrestling? And we'll find out. We'll find out what he wants to do. I think right now, I mean, I don't know that he's that good. I mean, I can never, whatever Travis says, I just have to kind of push aside and watch and see what he's actually doing. And I saw him pulling Varesh, so I'm like, okay, I don't know exactly where he's at, but really it comes down to, again, Travis's motivation. I think that there's not a lot going on right now for Travis because most of his side hustle has been at big shows and conventions. So yeah, he might be wanting to get back in. Yeah, maybe.
Mr. Iron Bodybuilding is wondering if it helps being tall in arm wrestling.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people say that there's like a perfect size in arm wrestling. Like you've got like shorter arm wrestlers, you've got taller arm wrestlers, and then you've got like kind of this middle ground that seems to work well as well. But in my opinion, it's good to be tall. I think that height has helped me personally a lot. Height initially can take you a while to work with because a lot of times when you're tall, you don't know how to use your height. You don't know how to use your leverage properly. And sometimes height and strength don't always go hand in hand until it does. So height often fits in with potential. And when you get a really tall athlete, you have a lot of potential. You have a lot of potential in terms of technique, and you have a lot of potential in terms of strength. And a tall athlete normally has a big hand, which is super dangerous. So I would say that yes, height is an advantage in the sport of arm wrestling.
Another fan wants to know if you have any plans to return to Japan for arm sumo.
1,000%. If I can be at the Arm Sumo Championships every year for the rest of my life, I will be. It's probably right up there in terms of my favorite events. I love arm sumo. I actually think that it's better than arm wrestling. So every chance I have to support arm sumo, I will. And what a great place to go party.
And I know you were a fan of this show. Radish Beat is asking, is Game of Arms going to come back? The show was awesome. Why did it go away? Can anyone view the second season that was filmed but never aired?
Yeah, huge fan, right? I think that the Game of Arms is really one of the big sparks that led to kind of this modern era of, of boosted arm wrestling popularity. I think that the season 2 stuff is owned still by who filmed that initially. Anyways, so what happened is halfway through the season 2, and I forget the network that owned it. Jeez, who was it on? Game of Arms on. Anyways, so halfway through the season, what happened is they did a complete rebrand. They had like 4 reality series, and they said, we're not going to do reality anymore. We're going to do all scripted. So they got rid of all their reality programming, just like that. All the stuff didn't matter where long they were, and it was done. So all the raw footage, I think, was just sitting. Now, what happened was, I know that there was a partnership there to some degree, and I might be wrong, but I know that World Arm Wrestling League was in some kind of talks with them. And there's a lot of talk right now about a Game of Arms-ish style of show coming back and being filmed again. There's tons of issues right now, obviously, with COVID, but I know that they're planning on doing another kind of reality-ish show to surround perhaps the World Arm Wrestling League season, or kind of some kind of fringe-ish kind of thing. Yeah, there's going to be more shows on arm wrestling for sure coming up.
Including our own show where we have hidden cameras in a bar and we see how much trouble we can stir up with arm wrestling.
Man. Yeah. Oh, it's AMC. AMC.
Oh, AMC. Okay.
Yeah, AMC has the footage. So, and I think that when they do start up Game of Arms season 3 or whatever you want to call it, they will probably take that footage and somehow bring it to life, because there was so much cool stuff that happened.
Some guy on here is daring me to ask you how often you smoke weed.
Well, so I normally use it before I practice. I find that it really helps me. I find that I can feel things a lot better. I feel like it really helps with pain, and it helps with motivation. Different people it affects differently, but yeah, I've always had really positive results when it comes to performance across really any physical activity. I guess I'm a bit of a responder. Yeah, I'd encourage anybody who has like any kind of pain or sleep issues, it might really help you in some kind of way. Go to spartanwellness.ca, help you out.
Maybe you'll have your own strain one day. I prefer the drops because I love to run, and the few times I do smoke it, I notice a direct effect on my cardio.
Well, and how is that? Negatively?
Yes, it negatively affects my cardio. So the drops have no effect.
For me, it's positive. Yeah.
Well, is there a lot of cardio in arm wrestling? I don't know. I still have to come over.
No,
I probably will soon. I really should.
Sure I think for arm wrestling, really what it does is there's a certain amount of feel that goes into arm wrestling. And I feel like when it comes to technique in arm wrestling, there's this place that you can get to where you're just kind of ahead of somebody. And I don't know why, but I feel like it can at times assist this. Yeah. And I would listen, I never want to encourage anyone who's healthy and everything's working really well to do anything that their doctor doesn't tell them to do. But I'm like a special case. So I never did anything until I was, well, that's not true that I never did anything, but I never smoked weed the entire time I was in the military. So I didn't really start to mess with this stuff until I was like in my 40s. And by this point, I've had a couple surgeries. you know, I I definitely feel it. Like I feel like my body sometimes is like, you're hurting a bit. And yeah, so it can help older athletes a lot.
Someone's asking on here, what's your workout motivation?
Oh, I just love it. I mean, my workout motivation, I still want to be the best. I want to be the best I can be. I want to, and at this point, um, I'm a bit like I've tried so many different things. Like I've tried if I hear like some kind of workout strategy or idea, I'm just curious. I'm curious to try it. I'm curious to see if it works. Um, and a lot of it, my motivation is just curiosity. I want to see what I can do to get better, what works. Yeah, so I'm curious. I enjoy it. I enjoy the way it makes me feel. Uh, yeah, I want to crush, turn and burn, grip and rip.
Who gives you the best match, both right and left-handed?
Well, now in terms of training, I'll say that we have a really, really great club here in Ottawa. Like I've got a group of people that I train with, and it's great. We have established patterns, and it's fantastic. But I will say, when I go to new places, it's really good. Like when I have like new hands, new energy, figuring each other out, that it's normally always good. So I really do enjoy kind of keeping it fresh. I try to travel like once a week. And by doing that, that exposure to different energies, I find is really, really beneficial. In terms of like who is my best match, man, you just pick them. Like I feel like put me up against anybody at a like high pro level, and it's going to be awesome. Like it really doesn't matter to me who it is. Yeah, yeah. And left hand, I'm really chill right now. Left hand, man, you and me could have a great match.
Well, we may have to have that match one day. Another fan was wondering, we've seen in some movies when they do the arm wrestling contests that it's a 3 count. Does that exist at all in real competition?
It does in some things. So in most arm wrestling, no, it's just a touch of the pad or a dip below like the plane of in between the pads. So get a person so low and it's done automatic. But in arm sumo and in freedom arm wrestling, it is a 3 count. And that's basically where you kind of like showing in arm sumo. I believe the way it works is when you hold a person like really low and you show complete control, they do a 3 count. And in freedom, if you hold them off the edge of the table, it's a 3 count. And that gets you your win. So yeah, there is that in arm wrestling too.
Now, I'm not going to try and pronounce this guy's name. I don't know if you can see it or not, but they're asking how.
Vresh Sidrakian. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's so strong. It's crazy. It's crazy. Vresh is a beast. He's a freaking monster. So Vresh is like 175 pounds. He's this Armenian dude living in LA. And he he was like a gold medalist. Like he won the worlds a couple times at like 165. I think he was winning golds at like 165. So really light. And I think he naturally sits at like 175 or something. Like, I don't know. And he's a gladiator. Okay. Like he's just all muscle and sinew. And so right-handed, even at like 175, he's super nasty. Okay. But left-handed, that guy is bad news for anybody. That's the crazy thing. So left hand at 175, he's going to go into a tournament, win his weight class, win the next weight class, win the next one, and then everybody's going to freak out because he's probably going to win the Open. Like he's really, really impressive. Really impressive. Vresh Sidrakian. Yeah, that's a guy you want to watch.
Very cool last name. Another person on here is asking how important your family is to your success.
Yeah, well, super important. My family, I mean, we all live in this house together. Whatever we do, we're strong together, and we'll fall together. So, I mean, whoever is on your island, I mean, that's super important. When one of you is strong, you can all get stronger from that. And when one of you gets weak, yeah, that can affect everybody. So yeah, we've managed to keep this boat afloat for a long time. And between Jody and the kids, like we've had it pretty good. We've had a good run. Yeah, man, you gotta take care of the people around you, right? It's really important.
How's your daughter's acting career going?
Yeah, she's been a bit slowed down because everything's been shut down. She's a little superstar. Habry is probably the one who has the most legs for like star potential. I think that anything that girl tries to do, she really just knocks it out of the park. Speaking of which, though, Auden is actually in Toronto right now. He's doing. Oh yeah, he's doing. I probably shouldn't even talk about it, but he's in a pretty big movie like right now, so he's killing it. But yeah, there's a lot of restrictions right now with COVID, so it's hard to get parts and stuff like that.
Is your daughter still interested in possibly becoming a wrestler one day, or is she over that?
No, she's totally into it. Like there was a while there when her and her friend Callie they were practicing moves and they were watching it, and yeah, she was really into it. And she does all, like, I mean, she's into Ninja Warrior. She's done a fair bit of judo. She's scrappy. She's got acting. Yeah. And she's strong. Like Habry is a strong, fit little girl. So yeah, she could do it. She could. Yeah, I'd be thrilled if she did. It'd be
You'd be
hilarious.
a good manager for her, I think.
I'd do that. I'd help out. I'd have a chair. I'd jump in when needed.
Now, someone is asking if there's any friction between you and Breezink, if I'm saying that
Breeze,
wrong.
old John Breezink. No, there's no friction between us. I wish I was closer to the guy. John, I wish he was around more. I wish he was. John's kind of done everything. He's kind of done it, and yeah. I just wish that John was around more. That's my only wish for that guy.
There was another question about him. Someone was asking, he always seems so cool and mellow. Have you ever seen him lose his temper?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, I've seen him at times get kind of fired up about stuff, but only like in matches. that's about it. John's a really smart guy. Like he's very like if you just kind of watch him, you can see like he's pretty good at figuring stuff out, and he's not really an aggressive type of guy, so he's not really into fighting people or anything. So no, I've never really seen him be out of control. Really, John is they call him the perfect storm, but he's got it all dialed in. I mean, the only time when it kind of got close that I've seen, and I wasn't there, was with Tom Nelson and well, Tom Nelson's sister and all that whole crew. Like the Nelsons are they're a riot. They are a riot, and there was like a little misunderstanding. Something about Tom's sister thought that John called her something, and so Tom was right there, ready to fight John, and almost happened, but yeah.
And Jump Tube wants to know who would win from the left, Dennis or Travis.
I gotta say Dennis by a landslide. Like I've arm wrestled Travis quite a lot, left-handed, and I'll say that over the years, Travis typically left-handed got the best of me, but I felt like I was never really out of the match. Like by saying that, I've beaten Travis left-handed. I've beaten them in single events, and I've beaten them in training. Not that that means anything, but it can. And I've beaten them in super matches left-handed. The difference with Dennis is, so when Travis has beaten me, he's typically beaten me on speed and setup, which means good hand, and that's cool. Dennis beat me everywhere. And not only did Dennis beat me, but Dennis gave me the opportunity to really feel what I had. Like Dennis let me get everything I wanted at some points in the match. And with me in my fully established position, he just tear through me. Okay, so Dennis to me is like on a completely different level. Travis, I've never felt him on a level where he'd be able to do that to me.
And someone else on here is asking, what is the favorite country you've been to everywhere you've been on your travels for arm wrestling in the military?
I couldn't answer that, man. I've really had so much fun all over the place. Like I've really been lucky. I've seen so many good things. I feel like there's so many amazing parts of the world, and I still have quite a few more to see. I haven't been to a lot of places, so I mean, favorite. I wouldn't even want to say. I wouldn't even want to get started because I feel like I've had way too many good times.
Did you ever go up against Richard Lepkes?
Yeah. I've had quite a few matches with Richard. So Richard was probably the most, I'll say in North America, probably the most dominant guy in his era. And what I mean by that is like when he was the best guy in the world, the number two was like way down here. Like I feel like there was an era when he was just killing everybody. And then he kind of left the sport, went on to wrestling. I don't know. He went on to just killing weights in his garage for a while. When he came back was right around the time when I was the number one dude. So he came back, and I feel like he beat Berzink in his first tournament back, I think, which was the Arnolds. And I arm wrestled him kind of shortly after that, like within a couple years of him, within a year maybe of his return. I think I arm wrestled him it was 2010, I think. And I feel like his strongest era on his return was like the first match that he came back. Like when he came back to the Arnolds, he was a nightmare. And then when I pulled him, I was able to beat him. I don't think I've ever lost to Richard, but I gotta say, I never had Richard at his best. Like Richard's best years were when I was still coming up in the sport. And I don't think that Richard's strength really has ever faded that much. It seems like, I mean, when you see him and you watch him train, I think he might be even stronger than he was. But I think that things like mobility and, his injuries have become his limiting factors. So if you can kind of just keep him off you for just a little bit, then his mobility is going to become a factor. But yeah, he's still killing it.
Do you think Michael Todd has a chance against Levin?
I do. I do think he's got a chance. I think he's got a great chance. I think he probably has the best chance out of anybody right-handed. So when you talk right-handed, the way I see it is today, Levon has to be considered the number one guy on the planet. He kind of has to be when you look at the history of arm wrestling, when you look at who's all beaten who and how the flow goes. But the truth is Michael Todd might be able to beat him. And there's been a division between the East and the West for some time. If I had to bet on it, I would begrudgingly lean towards Levon. Levon's strength is unbelievable. It's so high. And people talk about him being a bad arm wrestler. It's more like he's an untested arm wrestler. Like a lot of times people will be like, yeah, he's got bad technique. You don't know how bad or good his technique is because nobody's even in his world. Like nobody's able to expose him. He's able to use bad technique and still beat you. So when he's on the ropes, you don't know exactly what he's capable of yet. And I thought there have been periods when he has shown very good technique. So he had, in the finals against Vitali last year, I thought he displayed really good technique. So he's a monster. Michael is a really, really technically solid arm wrestler whose strength is way up there too. I can't imagine that Michael's strength is where Levon's is. I can't imagine that it could be. So it's a great match. I would lean towards Levon, but it's a war and it has to happen. Interesting thing is I think I have a better shot against Michael than I think Levon has, which is interesting. But
now you already mentioned the Honky Tonk Man would be up there, but someone's asking you your favorite professional wrestler of all time.
Well, I think that it would have to be, and oh my God, okay, what's his name? He used to just rage out and shake and run as fast as he could to the ring, and he'd shake the ropes
The
like that.
Ultimate Warrior.
That's the guy. Love that guy. And he never really said much at all, but his show was just so electric. I loved it, man.
He passed away, unfortunately, in his 50s. Surprise, heart-related.
Yeah.
Now
Sad day.
you mentioned this in a previous interview, but I know you follow MMA. Do you still follow it as closely? It hasn't been as popular in recent years.
Yeah, I do still follow a little bit. I normally just get worked up for kind of the big matches. But yeah, I love MMA. I think that's like one of the coolest sports that there is. Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Do you miss owning the Hammer Trophy, whatever that is? Actually, I've seen the Hammer Trophy when I was at your place.
Yeah, I got a few hammers lying around. I'm not that big on trophies, really. Like, I mean, I think it's kind of cool that it's not in the house. Like, whatever. Like, it gives me a goal to try and get it back, which I like. Yeah, I'm really not tied to it. I'm glad that I've been a part of its legacy. And, if fate smiles on me, maybe I'll get to touch it again. But if I get it again, I don't get to keep it forever. You don't get to die with it. Like if you do die with it, you've kind of failed. So it's good to have it and then pass it on. I I want to get it from Michael. If I can get a shot at Michael, he's in trouble.
Now, this is a question a little bit related to your military experience. I don't know if you've been following this, but I do cover some UFO content on this channel.
Yeah.
And recently, the Pentagon has come out and released 3 video clips of unidentified aerial phenomenon that have been caught by Navy pilots on radar. They're saying they don't know what they are, whether they're drones from another country or something from another world. I was just wondering if you've been following that at all and what your opinion is.
Well, I did hear about it, but to me, I mean, it's not really that exciting news. Like I remember when we were kids, like the deep philosophical conversation started was, "Oh, do you believe in aliens?" And it was like, "Well, yeah, I do believe in aliens." But now to me, it's kind of a ridiculous concept to not believe in aliens. Like if you don't believe in aliens, I look at you and I think, man, you're a freaking weirdo. Like when you look up at night and you see all those stars, and that's just with our eye, to think that there's not life everywhere, to me seems like some kind of a mathematical impossibility. And the same way, like, I mean, if you think about like an anthill and like, do the ants believe in people? Well, probably maybe they don't even think about us, but that's the same kind of way I think it is with us. Like of course it's a spectrum. Like of course there's things way higher than us that look at us like we're nothing, and this is a big place. Why we don't see more of them, that's the only thing that it's probably a ways for them to get here.
Do you find it though a little strange that now the Pentagon is actually saying that this unusual stuff is out there? Do you think that like it is a threat, or is this something that we shouldn't really worry about? Because apparently there's a task force now specializing in researching what these things are.
Well, I mean, I just would assume that it's an inevitability. Like the way that I view all that is it's inevitable at some point in our history, in the future, there will be an occupation. To me, it's just at some point, somebody's going to come and want to live here. And whether it happens in 100 years, whether it happens in 5 years, whether it happens in 10,000 years. And if it's not somebody coming here, once we get our stuff figured out, we'll do that to some other planet. And I just think that this is a reality. And that's the way that I think most of our psyche should lie. Like, interspecies war coming from other planets is an inevitability at some point in our history in the future.
Well, I thank you a lot for your time and for taking the time to answer so many of these fan questions today. Is there anywhere, I know you've got your own YouTube channel and your social media that you could share with the fans if they want to search you up?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube here. Devon Larratt, I think, is my channel. I'm on Instagram. But the thing that I'd love you to check out is check out ArmBet. It's an app that we just created for the arm wrestling community. Get on there and find arm wrestlers near you and start ripping.
There you go. Well, I like your idea. I think we'd have to plan it out with a bar, though, to have the hidden cameras there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will be suspicious.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I always like to cause havoc, and it's good to know someone that could actually back me up if all hell breaks loose.
We got to do it. And we're right here in Ottawa. It's perfect. We'll go to what's that one? The Crazy Horse. That's where all the kids go.
Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah, we'll go there.
I'm up for To close
Good.
this off, can you cut a promo on Dennis?
Dennis, what promo on Dennis? Like,
Say
yeah,
it's a
okay, yeah, for
wrestling
sure.
promo,
Yeah,
but
I got
for
you.
arm
Yeah,
wrestling.
yeah, yeah.
Say you have a match. Like, is he
Okay,
dubbing
yeah, for
you,
sure,
or
for sure. Listen,
is no one booking you?
here's the bottom line. Okay, like I wanted to arm wrestle Dennis for a decade, and I had the left-handed belt from PAL because I beat Andre Pushkar. Rest in peace. Um, and I was so tired of waiting. And they're like, no, we want left hand. No, we want left hand. Eventually, I was just like, fine, I just want to do it. But my greatest hand is my right. So, Dennis, if you beat me the way you beat me on my left, or even if you beat me, you're the guy. But I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that I will crack that Chernobyl wrist of yours right to the pad if we ever meet. So anybody who can make that match happen, Dennis Saplankov, I'll crush you like a grape.